It was a late summer afternoon when my little sister and I decided to head out for what we thought would be a simple, innocent camping trip. We were kids, and the woods near our house were our playground. It was a place we had spent countless hours wandering, climbing trees, and playing hide and seek. Our house was close enough that we could always run back if we got scared or needed something, but the woods themselves felt like a whole other world, a place of peace and tranquility, and sometimes a little adventure. We were both around 10 and 12 at the time, and our parents weren't home. So, we decided to pack a little camping gear and just enjoy the day. The plan was to hike along the familiar trails, set up our tent by the lake, and spend the night under the stars. We had done this before many times, and we felt safe out there. It was the kind of thing kids do when they want to feel independent, like they're embarking on some grand adventure. We packed a small tent, a few snacks, and our water bottles. I remember we had some marshmallows in the bag, thinking we'd roast them over a small fire when we set up camp. It wasn't anything extravagant, just a few hours of being out in nature, away from the house and the noise of the world. The air was warm, and the forest around us smelled of fresh pine and damp earth. We started walking down the familiar trail that led to the lake, chatting and laughing about nothing in particular. But then, as we rounded a bend in the path, I noticed something unusual. In the distance, there was a man walking toward us. He was bald, wearing a blue shirt, and had a dog with him. His pace was slow, almost casual, but something about him felt out of place. He wasn't doing anything strange, just walking, but there was an odd sense of discomfort that crept up my spine as I watched him approach. I didn't say anything at first. It was probably nothing, I thought. After all, this was a public trail, and it wasn't unusual to see people out hiking or walking their dogs. I gave him a polite smile and a wave, but as he got closer, that tight, gnawing feeling in my chest intensified. It wasn't just that he was a stranger in the woods. There was something about the way he carried himself, like he was looking at us too intently, as if he were trying to figure us out. And when he glanced over his shoulder to look at us, something inside me told me to pay attention. I glanced over at my sister, who had been happily chatting away and skipping along the path, but now she had stopped. She turned to me, her face slightly pale. It was that look we both knew too well, the one that says everything without needing to say a word. She was feeling it too. We both stood there for a few seconds, silently taking in the situation. I don't know why I did it, I still can't explain it, but I pulled out my camera and snapped a photo of the back of the man as he walked away. It wasn't something I had planned to do, but something inside me told me that I should. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was just the growing unease in my gut, but I needed to capture the moment, just in case. Something about him was off, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we needed to remember him. As we continued walking, we tried to brush it off. Maybe I was overreacting, I told myself. Maybe it was nothing. But the feeling didn't leave. Me. The hairs on the back of my neck stayed up, and I could tell my sister was feeling the same way. Every time I glanced over at her, she was looking around nervously, as if she was waiting for something. A while later, we made our way to the lake, just like we had planned. The peaceful water and the sounds of birds chirping should have been comforting, but the unease never left. That's when we saw him again, the same man, with the same dog, standing near the water's edge. This time, he wasn't just walking by. He approached us. My heart began to pound in my chest. "Hey," he called out casually, as if we were just two friends meeting by chance. "I see you've got a tent there. Are you camping out here? Is your dad with you?" The question hit me like a brick. It wasn't the question itself. It was the way he asked it. He was too interested in our plans, as if he had been waiting for the right moment to approach us. I looked at my sister, and she gave me a quick, nervous glance. "What do we say?" I forced a smile and lied. "Yeah, we're camping with our dad." I could feel my heart racing, and the words left my mouth almost too quickly, like I was trying to make it sound more convincing than it was. The man didn't seem to notice the lie. Instead, he smiled and nodded, as if everything was perfectly normal. He asked a few more questions, trying to make small talk, but I could tell he was still sizing us up. My sister and I exchanged another look, and we both knew it was time to leave. We needed to get out of here. Without saying anything else, we turned and walked away down a fork in the path, trying to look casual. But inside, I was in full alert mode. I had a gut feeling that we were being watched. We had to get out of his sight, and fast. We continued walking for a few minutes, then veered off the path, hiding behind some thick bushes. We crouched down and waited. I could hear him behind us, walking slowly, pretending to play with his dog. But I was watching him closely. He stopped at the point where he had seen us go off the path, and for a moment, I thought maybe he was giving up. He turned around, pretending not to notice we had disappeared from view, and then he did something that made my blood run cold. He began running up the path after us. My heart skipped a beat. He was chasing us. My sister gripped my arm and we stayed perfectly still, hiding as best as we could behind the bushes. My breath felt like it was trapped in my chest. I wanted to scream, to shout for help, but I knew that would only make things worse. We had to be quiet. We had to stay hidden. I peered through the bushes, barely breathing, and saw him running past, still focused on the path we had taken. He didn't stop, didn't look around, and eventually he passed by us, running in the direction he thought. We had gone. We stayed there for a few more minutes, not daring to move. Once we were sure he was gone, we slowly crept out from behind the bushes and looked around. The man was nowhere to be seen. He had gone farther up the path, still looking. For us, but we were safe. At least for now. We didn't speak as we walked back to the house. I was still trying to process everything that had happened. The way he had followed us. The way we had both felt that gut instinct to run. I couldn't explain it, but something told me that he had not been there by accident. He had been watching us. When we finally made it back home, we didn't tell anyone right away. I think we both needed some time to let the reality of what had happened sink in. It wasn't until later that I showed my parents the photo I had taken of him. The strange man, the way he had followed us, the way our instincts had screamed at us to get out of there. They were as shocked as we were, but we all agreed that whatever had happened, we had been lucky. We had listened to that gut feeling, and it had saved us. I'll never forget that moment, the moment when everything inside me told me to leave. Because sometimes those gut feelings aren't just your imagination. They're your mind trying to keep you safe, trying to tell you that something's wrong. And in that moment, we listened. We escaped.